Good morning, my dear friends. Operator Starsky here. It's morning in North Rhine-Westphalia. 5 a.m. Literally, what am I doing? But I decided to make a Pacific stream. I literally woke up 30 minutes ago. I didn't do Pacific stream for a while, approximately since 2023, as far as I remember. Dear Kiwi and Aussie viewers, hello, it's so cool to see you. We also have a lot of people watching us from Canada, United States, and other countries. So we have a big airstrike that literally finished just a while ago. Um, we have 10 Tu-95 Russian bombers and Russian MiG-31 jet fighters that are returning from their launch positions. Unfortunately, we have a lot of strikes reported all over Ukraine. Uh, Traditionally, cannot sleep when such things happen. That's why I have to monitor all this, and that is why basically I decided to make this stream as well. We have information that part of the cruise missiles that were launched at Ukraine, they were lost. Apparently, they were imitational, but we also have reports about strikes in several Ukrainian cities. Apparently, just a bit later, I will make a report on this. Um, so it was a tough night. Also, since yesterday, we started receiving reports that Russians began some big offensive in the Kursk Oblast, as well as in Chasiv Yar and Kramatorsk. My guys in not my brigade, but my guys on the Kursk direction say that situation is really, really bad. But we will see. Uh, Over the past week, we can see that situation on the front line in general is extremely dynamic because there are places where Russians keep gaining tactical gains. I'm still sleepy, but at the same time, there are locations, for example, in Kupiansk direction, in Pokrovsk direction, where Ukrainian army gained some success as well. So the situation is kind of dynamic. The worst thing that could happen, of course, was the fact that, uh, my God, Russian invaders in the White House. Uh, the US administration of Donald Trump decided to cut the military aid, and it's bad both for the situation on the front and the security and safety of Ukrainian civilians. The biggest problem with the American defense aid cut is lack of munitions for several systems that are used in Ukraine at this point. We're talking about HIMARS systems. We know that GMLRS and ATACMS missiles, they're produced in the United States. We also know that Patriot systems also use missiles produced in the United States, and that is a problem. Another problem, of course, is the intelligence that was stopped coming from the United States to Ukraine. It's not only important for Ukrainian precision strikes on Russian command centers and Russian ammunition storages and concentration of the Russian personnel, as you know, but it's also bad because there were early alerts on the Russian strikes, like the one that happened just tonight, and United States would often provide Ukraine with the information on Russian bombers taking off from Alenia airfield, for example. So we will not have that information anymore. And a lot of real-time information that was coming to Ukraine. So we will have no more intelligence. We will have no more missiles to protect Ukrainian citizens. But we have several solutions that were offered by the European allies. And generally speaking, there was a meeting in Brussels. There was a summit. I believe that a lot of Ukrainian representatives were there. Zelensky was there as well, and they were discussing generally what to do, considering the fact that the United States decided not to be, not the United States, but the Trump administration decided not to be an ally to his NATO colleagues anymore, unfortunately. So President Zelensky reports that yesterday in Brussels was extremely effective. It brought a lot of results. Again, I'm sorry, I'm part of my brain is still sleeping, and there were a lot of extremely effective meetings with and discussions with president of the European Council, Kostu, also president of the European Commission, von der Leyen. President Zelensky talked to President Macron. He talked to Prime Minister of Belgium, De Wever, and Austrian Chancellor Stocker. Also, President Zelensky had a meeting, which again is crucial considering that Trump's administration cannot be trusted anymore. He talked with the General Secretary of the NATO, Rutte, and they both shared their views on what they can do in order to preserve the collective security in the European Union and in Ukraine as well. One of the crucial decisions that were offered, and I talked about it yesterday in my video, was the Sky Shield. What is the Sky Shield? So, several European partners offered the air protection for Ukraine. They offered deploying 120 jet fighters that can intercept Russian missiles without provoking Russians to start the World War III, but they will be defending the central and western Ukraine, generally cities like Kiev. We're talking about Lviv, the main transportation hub for the military supplies and defense aid coming to Ukraine from Europe, and also Odessa, which is a crucial point for basically sending the Ukrainian grain. Colin, why isn't Europe stepping up for Ukraine? Basically, it does, and the Sky Shield is one of those initiatives that we're talking about. Also, France said that they will share the intelligence data with Ukraine as well, which is really important. I'm sure that there's a lot of countries sharing their intel data with Ukraine at this point. Without the United States, of course, it won't be as complete, as effective as it was. But one good thing about Donald Trump, which I completely admit, is that you always need some kind of butt kick, right? You always need somebody to literally backstab you so you could start finally moving and thinking about the future. That, for example, happened to Vladimir Putin, who was stating for like 20 years that Ukraine was their brotherly nation, and then he invaded us in 2014. And this is what is happening right now. So we should be basically grateful, I think, to the traitors sitting in the White House at this very point. So we can become less naive and more active in planning and preparing to deflect future Russian invasion of Europe, I think. And also, we have a commentary from Patrick McGuinness. It's clear Trump cares nothing for Ukraine. And this is something extremely important to understand, my friends. Trump doesn't consider Ukraine its ally, and Trump will not be helping Ukraine. You cannot appease Trump. Everything was decided long before Zelensky's meeting with him in the Oval Office. Everything was decided already. Again, as I mentioned it in some of my previous videos, currently Russians started changing their tactics. They use a larger amount of drones and missiles launched from different launch sites. And they started using this tactic in, I think, in January. And January is was it in January when Trump was inaugurated? I think already around that time it was clear that the US will stop its military supplies, its defense aid to Ukraine. That is why Russians decided to implement this strategy to deplete Ukrainian stockpiles of Patriot missiles. Again, that is just my assumption, but I really, really don't believe in coincidences. I believe in Santa Claus, but not in coincidences. Okay, we have few people from Australia here, and New Zealand, from what I can tell. France stepping up, Tom. I completely agree. It's so cool because I remember Macron's words back in the days when he offered, not to pressure Russia too much, basically help Putin save his face, which I didn't know how to comment. But again, facing the challenges like the Trump administration basically abandoning Europe and other challenges, and after all the Russian atrocities that we saw, it's a very sobering thing. I mean, surviving through Russian invasion is an extremely sobering thing. In my opinion, and it can change a lot of minds. Keith Kellogg, for example, Keith Kellogg had opportunity to travel around the combat zone in Ukraine. He had opportunity to visit the rehabilitation center for wounded Ukrainian soldiers in Irpin. Remember my friend Vova Tovkis, who was shot in his head. I talked about him. He's our champion in the Invictus Games. So in Irpin, there is a rehabilitation center for Ukrainian veterans. And Keith Kellogg visited this rehabilitation center. He met a lot of Ukrainian soldiers and yada yada. And basically, what he stated after meeting them was that the US is using a whip and a cookie method to settle the war. My ass, seriously. Are you kidding me? If you call that a diplomacy, I call myself a fucking ballerina. Um, Again, this is my stream, and I can literally talk about whatever I like. And generally, we have freedom of speech, right? So, my personal opinion that Trump's policy sucks balls at this point, big time. Not only he managed to ruin his partnership with his neighbors, but also destroy partnership between the United States and Europe. I'm not talking about the common people living in the United States, but this is, by the way, also something very important, because a lot of people from European countries, from Canada, they start feeling mad at Americans in general. And Russians are very, very smart in this regard. They use their social media, they use again their bot farms, and it was basically noticed recently, to even, broaden the gap and increase the hatred between those nations, to sow more discord between, for example, Canadians and Americans. So there, like, we know who is to blame, for the current situation. For example, the tariff wars, etc., between the United States and Canada. Right? There's like only several men responsible for this. But the biggest thing that we should avoid right now is for people to start hating each other directly. That is something important, and that is something that Russians do extremely well, using their social media, using their bot farms, and using other methods. That is something we should remember. Guys, people don't make bad decisions. I don't blame people for electing Trump, because I'm a communication specialist. I know how it works. You cannot become a president if you have bad communications. And communications created to make you think the way the client wants you to think. It's not like people are bad for only Russians are bad generally, because Russians elected Putin and they keep re-electing him like over the years, and they don't care about it. But people in the West are completely different. They have different mentality, and they listen to what they're being told. Right? In order to make some kind of decision, they listen to what they're being told. Communications work this way. You make your decisions and you make your conclusions based on the communications. So Trump had extremely good communications team. The reason he had a good communications team is basically because he was backed by Russians. Why would Trump pressure Russians if Russians basically helped him to win using all their infrastructure and ecosystem of bot farms, etc., etc. Right? So don't blame people, blame the responsible people. Yes, Liam, this is live. Finally, I have a Pacific stream for our viewers in, like, on both sides of Americas, let's call it this way. So, manga. Wait a minute. Where was this beautiful comment? I'm surrounded by mega. They are morons. Look, I. Oh, and we also have Dunk. Hey, Dunk. Hey, how are you, bro? Um, Look, I agree that not all people have like high level of IQ. Okay, when I was a sergeant back in my days, I had all kinds of people in my platoon and later in my company. There were people who literally volunteered uh, and enlisted in, got recruited to my brigade from like IT companies. Okay, one of them became a good sergeant, and unfortunately last year he died. He was my good friend. But there are also people who came from like other fields, other industries, and not all of them were highly intellectual, right? If they speak about flat Earth, Zelensky being a dictator, and Ukraine starting the war against Russia. They talk about it not because they're stupid, but because the communications team on our side, the communications team of good guys, wasn't active enough or wasn't financed enough. Because again, Russia uses a lot of money to um, bolster their advantage in terms of communications. Recently, Russia Today started inviting English speaking bloggers and journalists to so called educational courses in Russia because they need an army of influencers on the West. And we will see soon, very, very soon, a big army of talking heads like Team Pool, for example, saying shit about Ukraine, saying shit about NATO and unity, and promoting further US isolation. And also, we will see a lot of that happening in Europe. Why European countries don't do anything similar? That's the answer to your question why there's a lot of morons. um, like it's not because they're bad people. It's not like we are being born bad. However, we can discuss that, but it's because their communication efforts, the communication efforts of the terrorist country, for example, are stronger than our communication efforts. They have better financing of those communication efforts. And by financing, I don't mean like, you don't pay enough to like opinion makers, right? No, there are things that require financing. For example, how is a communication company implemented in any given country? You want to change the opinion of people living in, guys, where's oh, snow chains. I'm trying to get to sleep after my shift. I know, buddy, I know. And by the way, thank you so much for your donation. It was extremely, extremely helpful. I wanted to text you, fortunately lost you in the messages. Um, Regarding the communication strategies, okay, guys, let me scroll the chat and see where people are coming from. Um, it's important. For example, we have people from Canada, right? Okay. We want to create a we want to conduct a coup in Canada, for example, right? Let's imagine that we're Russians. We want to form a group of people in Canada and turn them into separatists, basically, conduct some kind of hybrid operation in Canada to make them join, to make them want to join the United States as 51st state. And by the way, the very idea of this makes me want to vomit so bad. Because apparently Trump didn't hear anything about international legislation and internationally recognized borders, United Nations. Like, this shit doesn't exist to him at all. But let's imagine that we're Russians planning to prepare the coup in Canada. What do we do? In order to make it possible, we need to first thing we need to do is research the local opinion, research the population, what they're thinking about. Um, and in order to make it possible, we need to conduct this research, and this costs money. So we researched the opinions. We know approximate percent of Canadians who want to become Americans. What do we do next? We need to increase this number. We need more people. So we're starting to create an informational strategy. And we came up with several narratives that we want to spread in Canada. How do we do that? We need a focus group. We need to find 10, 20, 50 Canadians and basically ask their opinion on what do they think about those narratives. That is called a focus group in the communication society, right? And basically, this is something that requires investment. You need to pick people, you need to bring them to a room, you need to literally pay them to ask their opinion. And such things require financing. Russia does that all the time. Trust me, Russia spends so much money to research opinions in the United States, and now it pays back literally because Trump is reportedly ready to lift the sanctions. So, my point is that Europe, unfortunately, doesn't do anything like Russians do to be more effective than them. Um, Doing anything like Russians, I mean, not creating a lot of disinformation, which is not our approach. But I'm talking about creating infrastructure for countering the disinformation, for creating our own infrastructure for communications to expose Russian bullshit. Nothing is done, unfortunately. There are several countries like Poland, Baltic countries. I think there are some efforts made in France, but generally speaking, unfortunately, we don't see that happening. In the United States, you will not see that happening over the upcoming 4 years, because generally speaking, what I noticed when I spoke to MAGA people was that MAGA doesn't care about informational warfare whatsoever. Especially informational warfare coming from Russia, they literally don't mention it anywhere because, like, to them, it doesn't exist. We're leaving the prequel to the Fallout video game series. When you start thinking about it and you start developing things like developing the connections, connecting the dots in your head, then you can see a lot of horrifying shit. For example, like lifting Russian sanctions, US trading oil with Russia, US supplying Russia with armored vehicles, China attacking Taiwan, and things like that. Yeah, unfortunately, this is something that can literally develop into the World War III, whether we want it or not. So we have to be prepared. Um, Manga doesn't care about facts or truth. Tiny amount of those people, tiny amount, they kind of do. Okay. I remember there were guys in MAGA that literally came to HOSTOMEL in 2022 and 2023. There were volunteers who spoke to me, and they were like, look, you see all that stuff like destroyed vehicles and burnt airfields of Hostomel. That would not happen if Trump was president. And the guy brought the blood stopping, medicine to my brigade. And I'm like, well, if that's your opinion, I respect it, but I don't think that's the case. So there are guys who support Ukraine, and at the same time, they support Trump. However, with the most recent Trump's rhetorics, because they are dedicated to Trump, basically, I believe that they will change their mind very, very fast in the future. Again, I saw a lot of guys who were like, I spent thousands of dollars to buy drones for Ukrainian army to support Ukrainian soldiers, but I don't support American taxes being spent on Ukraine. So, according to rough estimates, the taxes are as big as approximately $200 a year for an American person, which makes it something like between 45 and 75 cents a day. That is enormous money, apparently, comparing to thousands of dollars spent on drones. That is enormous money. So that's crazy. Taiwan will repel China. I wish they did. I mean, I wish they will. Um, Speaking of China, the situation there is crazy because they started to spread this, like ideology and motivation among their troops. And I saw that happening 2 years ago when their airborne troops, for example, and they have, I don't remember how much, between 35 and 65,000 men, the airborne guys in China that are so much motivated to literally land in Taiwan and attack it and capture it. And they have very, very strong motivation because Chinese ideologists, they work with them big time. That is again something that we don't see much happening in European countries. Uh, in Ukraine, we don't need that much because $200 a year in taxes. Yeah, that's like that's raw estimate, okay? Because um, different people have different income, and like there are people who receive like millions of dollars. There are people who receive like several $1,000s a month, and like the estimates are very, very raw. Okay, so it's not like generally it's not even $200. That is approximately something between 170, 190, something like that. Generally speaking, yeah, it was estimated that for a European citizen, supporting Ukraine's defense costs something like a cup of coffee. Compare that to a cost of drone, for example, like Mavic or Autel. So, several other updates that I wanted to mention today. France offered its intelligence instead of American provided intelligence. Uh, I completely welcome this decision. Generally speaking, France and Macron is surprisingly is saying, okay, that's the rhetoric so far, but they're saying surprisingly motivational things. Um, Also, Reuters reports that Trump is planning to deport 240,000 Ukrainian refugees to the US. Again, the White House debunked this. They said that this decision has not been implemented yet. Will it be implemented? We will see, right? Uh, United Kingdom made a deal for delivering drones, for providing Ukraine with drones. That is worth 35 million euro. Again, United Kingdom surprisingly supported Ukraine for 3 years, and Ukrainians love people from United Kingdom for a reason. And Norway decided to increase the support for Ukraine by 4.6 billion dollars until almost 8 billions. And those are the most recent updates. So we have information that in different regions of Ukraine, according to our Minister of Energy, Halushenko, in different regions of Ukraine, unfortunately, a lot of Ukrainian energy and gas infrastructure facilities were hit. Currently, our rescuers and repair teams are trying to restore the energy and gas for Ukrainian citizens, but it will take time. Um, as soon as I have more details on that, I will tell you guys. Yeah, but the situation seems Not really good at this point. Oh my God, that is a cotton cutie on the user pic. Um, Ryan McBath. Look, Ryan McBath is someone who works with NATO, who works with security, and I am a former military. I can talk a lot of different things. I have free speech. I can openly call Trump a traitor. However, again, we don't have evidence that he's a Russian asset. We have a lot of questions regarding this, but I can say whatever I like. Ryan McBath is a person who works in the security sector. Okay, he works with different security and different intelligence agencies. So there are things that he cannot openly talk about. There are things that diplomats cannot openly talk about. I can understand that as a former military, okay, somebody who worked in the similar field. Um, That is the reason why, for example, you will not probably see Ryan McBath giving interviews to Ukrainian media because Ukraine is a side of a conflict, okay? So, and he talked about it years ago. There are things that you can ask Ryan McBath, there are things that you cannot. You can ask me basically anything, okay? I am not tied to the Ukrainian um, intelligence or Ukrainian army anymore, so you can literally ask me whatever. 2025 is a year of war. I would say it's 2014, maybe even earlier. Ryan McBath is certainly not a Trumpist. Guys, Ryan McBath is a military expert. Uh, that's all you need to know. And he's a good military expert. Ryan can't talk to foreign contacts because he holds a security clearance and he has to report who he speaks with. That's not the only reason, but again, I personally respect Ryan McBath 100%, and I trust this person very, very much. Um, yeah, 2014 for Ukraine, 2008 for Georgia. I remember on the Munich summit in 2007, that's when Putin said that basically you cannot hide behind the international law anymore. I think around 2007, that was the moment when Putin switched from a tiny dictator of Russia to a wannabe emperor of Eastern world. Around 2007, I think. You need to come train our military in Canada. Canadian military actually trained us. Um, Canadian military trained us back in 2016. I didn't make pictures, unfortunately, because those days uh, I didn't do that. But in Yavorov in Ukraine during the Rapid Trident, there were Canadian military from Fire mission who trained my platoon. I remember that. We had EOD training, we had several other courses, tactics as well, but I remember that. I remember it was so cool. Um, I went to how do you call it, the formation? Okay, when the rapid trident finished, and the guys are like changing with their NATO colleagues, like whatever they have, like patches and yada yada. And there's this Canadian guy, and I specifically brought an extra patch of the National Guard from Kiev to change it, for something else. And I'm like, oh, cool, cool, let's change. And there's this guy from Canada with the Unifier mission patch. And he's like, "You wanna change?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I'm like giving him my patch, and he gives me like some tiny camouflage bracelet, which like I don't even think there was written anything on it. So I felt literally cheated so much because guys traded like their like hats and patches and everything. So next time I went there, I was prepared. I brought a lot of different patches and I had a good exchange. Starsky, important question. What flavor ice cream goes with Soviet refineries burning? My personal choice is vanilla ice cream. I'm not sure if it's the vanilla that you call vanilla, okay? Because in Ukraine, we have vanilla ice cream and then we have plombyr ice cream. I cannot tell you why they're different, but like it's in the taste. It doesn't smell like vanilla. It's literally like made of milk, probably, or something like that. So this one goes well with burning Soviet refineries. It goes extremely well. Um, what would you advise Americans who wish to mobilize their people like Ukrainian organizers did during the Maidan? My friend, I cannot advise anything. Okay. Uh, because I don't want to be part of any uh, coups or revolutions in the United States. But you know my email in case of what? Is way to build up resistance in occupied territory. Is way to build up resistance in occupied territory. If you're asking about the resistance on the occupied territories of Ukraine, it works. We have several groups of partisans. One of the most famous of them is Atesh. It's called Atesh. And as far as I remember, it includes a lot of Crimean Tatars, by the way, because the partisan movement is very, very powerful in the occupied Crimea. So those guys provide us with all kinds of information, intelligence. They post a lot of data and footage online. You can often see them like literally walking into a Russian military base and recording things like uh, air defense systems, So it's kind of cool. Vanilla raspberry swirl. I gotta try that, my friends. Gotta try that. Muskrat did say he couldn't wait to collapse the American system. I saw it coming, actually. And generally speaking, judging from the recent news that we have, he's massively firing the CIA personnel. Because generally that is what the payback for the Russian support looks like. When you get to Canada, try ketchup chips and Miss Vicky's salt and vinegar. Ah, ketchup chips. Do they even exist? I never heard about anything like that. Guys, we will talk about food a bit later, okay? But we will definitely talk about it. I went to the stand with Ukraine rally in Sacramento. Oh, this is so cool. Thank you so much. Do you think that claymore mines would help to defend against drones, like mounted to vehicles? There are much more efficient ways to do that. For example, there are systems of active defense that are installed on Merkava tanks in Israel, for example. They require much less um, work to be contributed, comparing to Claymore mines. Claymore mines are effective, but there are other measures. The devices can be much smaller and much more effective. Generally, if you didn't know about this active protection system, is basically several devices shooting like small charge at whatever is coming at the vehicle. So if it's RPG shell or a missile or a drone, they're just like tiny things, tiny devices that literally shoot small charge and destroy it. Claymore mines are good for deflecting Russian infantry, that's for sure. Can you advise if Ukraine is taking non-combat volunteers? Of course, it does. I know that I'm not sure about our rescuers, like firefighters, for example, but medics, yes, they do. And generally, you can Google, there's a lot of different volunteers helping Ukraine in a non-combat way because there's a lot of things that Ukrainians do really need help with. If you know something about energy, if you know something about electronic lines, things like that, that can be helpful. Also, reconstruction. Uh, there's a lot of things that non-combat volunteers can help Ukrainians with. As an example, for Janine Terreblanche, she went to Ukraine, to Zaporizhia, with the Magic Kitchen group, the guys that were cooking food for Ukrainian soldiers. That is, again, something really, really important. Um, there's a lot of things people can generally do to help Ukraine. As little as sharing videos of Ukrainian or pro-Ukrainian YouTubers on YouTube in their social media. That is also a big help, by the way. When you go and check, for example, channel of Teampool, because Teampool now has a channel on a YouTube, restored channel, everything's fine now. So when you go to his channel, you can often see that his videos are sponsored on YouTube, which means that someone like editor of Russia Today literally pays YouTube to promote his videos. Um, People who debunk Russian disinformation, like Greg Terry, like Professor Gerdas, like Jake Pro, like Andrew Mercado, they don't have sponsored videos. They cannot afford it. That is why Russians and pro-Russian opinion makers have millions of views. We have barely hundreds or thousands. That is the difference. There is no Kremlin or no state behind our backs to literally promote our videos on a YouTube or other social media. That is why people who share the content, they're doing extremely important job. Would you agree that a swarm of drones interconnected in an agile AI-based network would help? Yeah, of course they would. And from what I can tell, we already developed such thing when we talk about sea drones. We already Ukrainian engineers already work in this direction to make naval drones more smart and work as a swarm. So we can already see that happening. Do you think Russia would ever consider taking Alaska back or taking slices of Canada, since they're just above us across the ice? Generally, I don't know the distance between Russia and Canada. I know that there's something like 53 miles between Russia and the United States. Um, but Russians already talked about taking Alaska, and they generally speak about it since 2014 in the Russian social media. You know, I feel really, really blessed with being able to read Russian media and speak with English speaking audience, because when you go to Russian media and start reading their shit, you can find a lot of interesting things there. Dunk, stay chilly, my friend. Thank you so much for visiting us. I lost the commentary that I wanted to reply to. Where is Soros? I don't know where is Soros. He doesn't pick up his phone because I called him several times, to ask about the paycheck, because according to mega commentators, he owes me a lot of cash as of this moment, but Mr. Soros doesn't pick up, unfortunately. Russian Media Monitor translates a lot of it. Yeah, that is very, very important to check out time to time. Where is. So does Mercado Media not get paid from YouTube? There is a YouTube monetization for Ukrainian bloggers, and there's also memberships on a YouTube, for example, on my channel, for people who want to support the channel. But we are talking about finances provided by state. For example, Team Pool, we know that Tanet Media was financed by Russian studio Russia Today. That is literally a state-owned television based in Moscow, right? They were financing Tanet Media. They were providing them with the content, which is again to me still crazy. Literally, Russians were creating content in the Moscow studio, and then Tim Pool was implanting this in the American brains. But we don't have anything like this today. We don't have states funding their communication army. We don't have states financing focus groups and research. We don't have anything like that. And that is scary. There is an initiative that works. It's called EU versus Disinfo. You can Google it. That is basically a service operating on behalf of the European Union that debunks the Russian and not only Russian disinformation. This is something that works. But comparing to what Russians do, that is absolutely not enough. And one of the evidence that it's not enough is unfortunately the fact that Trump went full Putin. He cuts the military aid to Ukraine. He stops the intelligence. He sends J.D. Vance to Germany to say that you suck, Europeans. What I see here, you suck, literally. Uh, J.D. Vance scolding Europeans. I will never forget this moment, literally. It was so cringy. Coming from J.D. Vance, by the way. What the heck, Starsky online at 6 a.m.? Are you in Germany, my friends? Uh, so I literally woke up recently, and because first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I'm starting to monitor all the updates and events. And one of them is, of course, this massive missile strike taking place in Ukraine. And that is, by the way, something extremely demotivating, my friends, because since 2018, first thing I do in the morning is I literally wake up and I start reading all kinds of news, and especially since 2022, on how many children died in the missile strike, how many people were injured or killed by Russian soldiers and things like that. And I do that every single morning because I have to. And I also think that it's something that I have to do as not only as somebody who has a YouTube channel, but also somebody who comes from Ukraine, right? So this stuff is extremely demotivating, and I can't even call it depressing, seriously. But yeah, I woke up and I started reading the updates. And then I realized, dude, you didn't stream for your Aussie and Kiwi friends for like several years. That is why I decided to stream so early. Trump is a Russian asset. So we don't have evidence, okay, confirming that he is a Russian asset. But we should ask ourselves several questions. Why would a businessman from United States go to a communist country, okay? And how come he bought property there? Because generally speaking, capitalists cannot do business with communist countries. Doesn't work like that. They don't have free markets. And generally speaking, even for people living in the USSR, that would be unimaginable if a hateful American came to the Moscow, to the holy heart of the Russian Soviet Empire, and bought property there. How could it be possible, generally speaking? So we should ask ourselves questions like that. Can he be a Russian asset? I can definitely believe in this. Explosions in Kievsky district of Kharkiv, Ternopil, Ivano-Frankivsk, Kiev. What do our monitors say? So in Mykolaiv, just 2 minutes ago, the air alert ended. Uh, in Kievsky district of Kharkiv, Russians hit a civilian enterprise. We have several wounded people. But generally, the main target is, or the main target of the strike was the energy and gas infrastructure. Another thing, in Kharkiv, we have a building that was hit. Yeah, unfortunately, we have a civilian building that was hit. There were 4 wounded. Not much details as of now. Yeah, one thing that we learned since the very early days of the Russian invasion was that you don't post the details about the aftermath of the strike straight away, because this is how Russians collect their intelligence. On the other hand, Russians do that all the time. All the time. Before the strike happens, they are ready with their phones to provide us with all kinds of intel data. That is why I love Russians so much. Um, Russia can Russia can only manufacture 2-3 Kinjal missiles per month now and 2-3 tanks. Um, that's the thing, because we destroy much more tanks that they can produce. Even on a daily basis, we destroy 5-10 tanks, um, when they are stupid enough to send them into the battle. If you're ever close to Dortmund, let me know. My friend, I don't use Twitter anymore. By the way, there is an operator Starsky on Twitter currently. My dear friends, please hear me. He's fake, okay? I quit Twitter. There's a dude with, I believe, several hundred subscribers, and he doesn't even look like me. He's fake. I don't use Twitter anymore. I use Blue Sky. You can find the link in the description. And if you use Blue Sky, then you can find me there. Please text me. The PayPal is also my email, so you can also connect with me like that. Because generally speaking, I know a very, very good place in Dortmund that is called Babushka's Restaurant, that is Ukrainian cuisine. And I live like 1 hour away from that place. So let me know. I would be happy to show you some really, really cool Ukrainian dishes. Oh, I thought you were the fake one. Yeah, yeah, that's the fact. I am the fake one because the real one has beautiful curly hair. He's much more ripped, and bulky, and much sexier than me. OPSEC. I know my friend. I know my friend about the OPSEC, but I was in infantry. Like, I don't care much. Also, I don't drink tea. That's a compliment here. No, my friend, that's not a compliment. That is literally, I think, a scam. Because unfortunately, there were cases where people would, uh, when people would use my name, and there was a lady from Africa, then there was a dude from, I believe, either India or Bangladesh, who unfortunately scammed a lot of people. Uh, I could go there tomorrow. Tomorrow will be extremely busy day, my friends. Extremely busy. So I'm not sure about tomorrow. And Did you add me on the Blue Sky? Let me check it out. Mm, I can't see, unfortunately. Please let me know your nickname on Blue Sky, okay? So I would add you. I thought you were going to do a cookery program. Why not? Okay, because I have something to show off. Hello, Deborah. How are you? So I have something to show off. I remember when you talked to the scammer. Yeah, that was crazy. Literally, I called him on Telegram because he was like sending his Telegram, the link to his Telegram channel uh, in the commentaries to the YouTube, and I added him, and he literally had like my user picture and everything else. And I'm like, how can I donate? He's like, well, yeah, you can donate like $500. And then we continued talking, and I asked, dude, do you find this like interesting? Why we have the same name and the same user pic? And he was like, who the hell are you? I'm like, who the hell am I? How do you think? So he called me, and then we talked, and it was extremely funny. Judging from his accent, I think that he was like from that area, like India or Bangladesh, apparently. Uh, maybe, maybe. To me, he sounded like Indian, at least. Yeah, but it was kind of fun. And after that, he changed his nickname to some kind of American basketball star or something like that. It was funny. But we talked about showing off. That is why I would like to show you this one. And then, by the way, my friends, I will need your help. Tom, hello. Much love to the Western Australia and to Australia in general. Uh, you guys are the reason why I decided to start this stream at 5 a.m. in the morning. So, first of all, I would like to share something with you. That is this. I made pancakes uh, for the first time in my life. Okay. And I'm sure there are at least two women who will be proud of me looking at this. One of them is my mother in Australia, by the way, and another one is Angelika from Germany, my good friend. I hope that she will see this one. And they were not bad. Okay, that is not the first and actually, they're not pancakes. They're crepes. That is how they're called. Uh, so this is how you season them in the proper way, right? I have Nutella, and I literally just put a lot of Nutella on them. The biggest secret, my friends, is to find proper temperature, right, on your stove. Basically, that's it. Proper temperature, I think, rules. Also, use plenty of butter. And then this is the end result. Yeah, dark art. We call them mlynci, actually. Russians call them bliny or blinchiki. Ukrainians call them mlynci. And this is how you basically make those crepes. If you like, if you want them to be with something sweet like jam or Nutella, you can add some sugar. You don't have to add sugar because they will be sweet anyways. But make with blended banana. Oh my god, I love them with banana, but I also love them with meat. Oh, hello, my friend. Hello. What about whipped cream with your Nutella? I have whipped cream. I literally looked at it in my fridge today. Maybe another time. So now I need your advice, okay? Because this is something that I don't understand. So the other day, I bought beef and I made a steak. And I made steak properly, like according to all the rules, according to all the canons. Um, Maple syrup, of course, my friend, maple syrup. I have it on my kitchen as well. So I made steak, and it was good, and it looked good, and smelled good, and everything else. The problem is that it was hard like a freaking rubber. You could literally, like, seriously, if you're from Canada, you could take that steak and use it to play hockey, instead of that stuff. So I don't know what I did wrong. Maybe I picked wrong meat, and if I did, I need to know your guys' opinion on what meat should I pick for steak, because I tried to make a beef steak twice in my life, and both times it was just, like too hard. You could barely cut it. I don't know why. So please let me know, because you need to marinate it. Uh, Marinate the steak. Really? Huh, I don't know. Depends on the cut and how you cooked it. So that's the thing, because I don't know whether I should, like, I literally found like big piece of meat, and it was like the cheapest beef I could find there. That is why I grabbed it greedily. That huge piece of meat would cost something like €10, probably something like that. And other steak pieces, they were much more expensive, so I picked that one. Maybe it was a wrong meat. Overcooked. No, it was a bit even undercooked. So yeah, I think the biggest problem is that you overcooked it too fast. Hmm. But to me, it seemed that it was hard already when I like it wasn't really even soft when I started cutting the raw meat. It wasn't really soft. I don't know. That was meat forest too. Could be the reason. Usually mean you need to cook it very long time, like pulled beef. Hmm. I don't know. That's a mystery to me, my friends. That's a mystery to me. I don't know what I did wrong. Maybe it was like just a wrong piece of meat. I gotta research it. I know that, for example, um, when you make tartar steak, and that is basically raw meat mixed with different spices, you take the meat from the back of the very, very young cow, basically a calf, and it's very soft. So that may be the reason. Could be the breed of cow on the diet or the cut. I think it's the cut. I just need to find the solution. What kind of cut I should buy? Because in Ukraine, you know that we're fans of pork. In Ukraine, I would make literally steaks out of pork, pork steaks. Please don't hate me, but those were fantastic. They were juicy and spicy, and they were just so good. With beef, I'm not really good. The other day, I went to see my friend Michael, and he cooked steak, and it was properly made and soft and just so good. And I asked, like, what do you do? And he showed me how to cook it. I failed 2 times, so I don't know. Maybe it's the cut. Better to get ribeye steak. Yeah, I saw that one. I saw that one, but I didn't buy it. Visit a real butcher, Metzgerei. Ah, I gotta try. Yeah, pork steak is loved here in Germany. Absolutely. Germans generally very similar to Ukrainians in this regard. We both love pork. No idea. Like, the meat is soft, and generally, pork is very much similar to human in terms of genetics. For example, I've heard that some of the organs from pigs can be transplanted to humans, vice versa, probably too. Yeah, but apparently that's the reason why we like pork so much. Pork is so good, especially when you raise your own. Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Go to a butcher shop, pay a little more, get high quality cuts. At this point, I think that I will just, be ordering pork instead. Oh my God, ordering pork or ordering beefsteaks ready, prepared instead of cooking them myself because apparently I suck at it so much. But it's still a challenge to me, so I need to do that. The steak should be at room temperature. Pancakes are also good with mushrooms, sour cream, and dill. Oh, yeah, that one tastes so good. But also, you can make them with this specific cottage cheese. In Ukraine, it's often sweet. The cottage cheese with a bit of sugar and raisins, and you put them in the pancakes. They taste fantastic. What do Ukrainians feel about Australia? Ukrainians never felt anything bad about Australians, my friend. That I can tell you that. I don't remember any case when anybody from Ukraine would ever say something bad about Australians. Oh my God, we have Greg Terry in the chat. Hello, my friends. It's so cool to see you here. I was bragging about the pancakes that I made yesterday. Check this out. If you were here, I would share with you, but I can send you some via the email. Um, right now, it's a good time to play a flight simulator in real time in Ukraine. Um, I will show you something, okay? Is it on my phone or is it here? Just a second. Just a second, okay. First thing I realized is that I'm using the wrong internet. But speaking of flight simulator, just so you could understand, this is what happens when you don't touch your gaming computer for like 2 months. Seriously. Like, I was literally crying looking at that so much. And that is not dandruff, I swear. Yeah, so that's the thing. Greg Terry, by the way, subscribe to the channel if you didn't do that yet. Please do. And Greg, you need to help me cook steak, please, because I suck at it. I don't know what's the problem with me. It's because I have, like paws, like a cat. You have a dust problem. It's not a dust problem. It's a time management problem, probably. Has Starsky spoken on the situation with us backing out of supporting Ukraine's war? Um, yes, I mentioned that. I mentioned that in the beginning. I'll teach him on the redneck steak grill in masterclass. Please do. Please do, my friend. After the war is finished, I will literally rename this channel to Eating with Starsky. I will be visiting you, my friends, wherever you are, and together we will be cooking some extremely cool stuff. I made a steak in the air fryer. It should be beaten. Yeah, that may be the reason. Okay, next time I will beat the living crap out of it. Seriously, I will literally like punch it with all my might. Sometimes you need to vent one way or another. Lucas, good night, my friend. Sleep well and eat something tasty, okay? It's a must. Ever had a peanut butter cookie? Peanut butter. You know, back in the days, uh, and by the way, thank you so much for memberships, my dear friends. It's always a big help. As for the peanut butter cookies, back in the days, I remember we had the MREs from the United States, and they have crackers that you can literally connect together with the peanut butter. It was good. You can use certain marinades to break down connective tissue. Generally speaking, you can use soda. If you add soda in your marinade, it does just that. It makes the meat a bit softer, but I don't really like it. I think the solution is to find proper meat, maybe. How many of you are on Blue Sky? I think that is a question to all of you, my dear viewers. Generally, I received a reply from the Blue Sky administration because I wanted to make a video or like a small research on how they fight against Russian bot farms. Because at this point, there is several Russian bot farms that entered the Blue Sky and they already started operating there. And Bellingcat made a research on that. You may want to Google it. How can those on Blue Sky and NAFO do something about misinformation? Um, it was just a matter of time that they start there. Yeah, returning to your question, my friend, it depends on what do you want to do. If there is a misinformation that is shared on the Blue Sky, I think NAFO know how to deal with it. Okay, NAFO were and are extremely effective in just drowning the Russian misinformation in memes and making it ridiculous, right? So that is a very, very good strategy. Blue Sky is an alternative to Twitter. Yeah, that's the thing. Um, I noticed that I have as many views on Blue Sky, and currently I have 7,000, I think 7,000 followers there. But I have as many views on Blue Sky as I had on Twitter with 120,000 followers there. So the views are completely the same. Why is it so? It's literally because on Twitter, the pro-Ukrainian and people generally who were debunking disinformation, they were throttled, and it was insane. Like a lot of people reported that it was insane. Currently, when you register on Twitter, you receive like a list of people you want to subscribe to, right? So among the people that I saw, of course, Elon Muscovite and chief of the AfD party in Germany. That was interesting. Hello, hello from Canada. What is happening in Ukraine just now? Right now, there was a big missile strike around Ukraine, mainly targeting the energy and gas infrastructure. So we know there are wounded people. There was a house that was hit in Kharkiv. There was a enterprise, a civilian enterprise that hit in Kharkiv, and the primary target was civilian infrastructure, the gas and energy infrastructure. That is what we know right now. There were 10 Russian bombers involved, plenty of Russian drones, like they do all the time. So, can confirm I barely get any views on my Twitter posts with. Yeah, that's the thing. How does it work? Who knows? It's just a difficult time. We should support one another and band together. And that is something I confirm. That is something I support 100%. Why do you think Ukraine has never bombed the Red Square? I think it's because it's more effective and more important to bomb, for example, an ammo storage or a Russian oil refinery than the Red Square. Yeah, that's the thing. Ukraine getting attacked by Russian missiles is clearly the fault of Ukrainian children for existing, according to Agent Krasnov. That's the thing. The Ukraine war has now become a copy of 1980s Iraq-Iran war, with most of the combat stuck in a static front line. Yeah, the only difference is that the front line in Iraq-Iran war was much smaller. This lasted for 8 years, and Iran, back then, it was invaded by Iraq. Iran managed to fight back after 8 years, but the front line was much smaller. Every decent person in the world supports Ukraine. I can confirm that, my friend. Generally, every conscious people, uh, every conscious person in the world supports Ukraine, because there were no more obvious wars than this one, I believe, in the past like 50 years. That is literally an invader who crossed the border, and there is literally defending side fighting back. No matter how hard Trump or JD Vance or Musk or who like Tim Pool or Carlson, no matter how hard they try to justify it, you can't change facts, right? More Starsky's kids. Oh my god. Okay, I will. I promise. Is anything useful getting down with the US Special Envoy Kellogg? He seems sidelined. Very hard to say because, again, you know Marco Rubio, right? Marco Rubio used to be a sober guy with sober views on the situation in Ukraine. But Marco Rubio works uh, in the state apparatus of the United States, of the White House. So he cannot talk much right now. And then the other day he started talking about Ukraine being a Russian Ukrainian war being a proxy war between Washington and Russia. I think they already had opportunity to understand that Ukraine is not a proxy state for the US, and it never was. I think Rubio and Trump and JD Vance already realized it. I wish I could call somebody to make a coffee for me. But I can't. Anyways, one of the things I think we really forgot to talk about this morning is 6:53, beautiful sunrise in my part of the world. Was can Ukraine withstand the lack of support from the United States? So my opinion, and that is just my personal opinion, is that it's possible, but it will cost more Ukrainian lives, obviously. And one of the reasons why I believe that Ukraine can withstand is that February, like several days of February, March, April, May 2022, Ukraine basically fought without any lend-lease whatsoever. Back in those days, we had some small stockpile of ammunition and weaponry to defend ourselves. And at that point, Russian personnel that was involved in the war was not that big. It was less than 300,000 men. So we could fight back, but still, we had absolutely no lend lease already during March 2022. We already had some shortage of shells. I remember our huge, my God, in Ukrainian it's called pion. That is those big artillery units. They were used actively, especially in the area of Kiev. I remember they were like shooting every single morning. Uh, but we already back then we had shortage of shells, and our artillerymen were feeling this. But several months until May, until the land lease was signed by President Biden, Ukraine fought alone, basically without any supplies. I think not even intelligence was provided besides the intelligence that was handpicked by different top managers of the world, right? But generally, Ukraine was alone. So Ukraine had a big chance of collapsing, according to different experts, in like 2 weeks or something. It didn't happen. And the fact that Ukraine didn't collapse in 2 weeks and even in 2 months was the reason why the land lease was signed. So Ukraine can definitely withstand. What do we see nowadays? Nowadays, we can see that 640, I believe, 640,000 Russian troops are currently deployed on the territory of Ukraine. About 1 million Russian army is involved in the aggression against Ukraine, and 600,000 troops are deployed to Ukraine. 200,000 troops are actively involved in combat every single day. Um, but Russian progress is much slower. No matter how many people they involve at this point, they cannot just push towards Kiev and capture whatever they want. Also, according to all kinds of bullshitters, like Ukrainian army like ceased, to be. Ukrainian army doesn't exist anymore. That is a lie. Of course, Ukrainians are still fighting. There's a lot of people, not only from Ukraine, but also volunteers from other countries coming to Ukraine to fight. And another interesting and very important thing is that Ukraine produces a lot of drones. Ukraine produces drones for the front lines, the tactical drones, FPV drones. Ukraine also produces tactical operational drones and long range drones. Those that can fly all the way to Caspian Sea and strike targets located in Chechnya, for example. So the problem is that there were several crucial pieces of weaponry that Ukraine is using. Again, like HIMARS, like Patriots, and also I'm not sure that we can use American produced anti air missiles on F 16s anymore. Mm, I'm not sure if we can use the missiles that we have on those airplanes. However, who knows? I'm not an expert on this one. But I believe that Ukraine can withstand. It will cost more lives, and also Europe steps in and helps Ukraine. If they cover the sky, that would be fantastic. Absolutely. Basically, 120 fighter jets deployed to Ukraine to protect the sky from Russian missiles. Russia cannot produce so many missiles, so they would strike Ukraine with like 500, ballistic or cruise missiles every single day. It's impossible. That would cost Russia their like whole GDP. So that would be fantastic, and Ukraine will, of course, withstand. The question is, will the U.S. provide intelligence data on Ukraine to Russians? That is question number one. Question number two is, will the US pressure the EU to stop supporting Ukraine? Will EU become self-sufficient? You must understand one thing. Whenever you break the ties with the countries you trade with, you become less rich. So that works for the EU, but also works for the United States. The more isolated you are, the poorer you become, the smaller is your welfare. That is important, that is serious. So, will those things happen? Do I believe that United States can trade intelligence on Ukraine with Russia? Would you believe that they would cut the military supplies to Ukraine, like in 2022? So that's the thing. Do you have a crackly audio? Please let me know. What I wanted to talk about. That's another thing. USA is opening the doors for Russia by dismantling counter-hacking. I talked to Ukrainian hackers a bit. They're very very hard to speak to, but they say they don't really think that something like that even happening because in the United States there was a program of active countering of Russian hacking attempts. Um, I would not call it active. That's the problem. And speaking of Ukrainian hackers, do I have it here? My God. I wanted to show you this because it was really, really cool. Just a second, my friends. Where was it? Where was it? Yeah. Okay, can I just paste it here? No, apparently I can't. Can I drag it? Can I screenshot it? Okay, apparently I can. So, oh my God. Okay, I will translate this one for you. During the operational measures taken by Russian Orthodox counterintelligence and counterespionage and blah blah blah, Russians revealed and eliminated the attempts of the Ukrainian main intelligence directorate to access the data of the Russian Jugend, right? So basically, this is an update coming from Russian media, and they say that this military camp for Ukrainian children, the avant-garde in Volgograd city in Russia, that the databases were hacked, and basically Russian counter-espionage units they found this and they removed the threat. And there's also another message saying that the data of those guys from Armia, that is basically Putin Jugend, let's be honest, that is well protected. So Ukrainian hackers, in response to this, literally shared the data of members of this Putin Jugend with the world, because the only thing that Russian hackers are good at is basically brainwashing Americans, unfortunately, and fighting using Photoshop. So that is data on members of the Armia in the taken from the database in the military camp in Volgograd. I think it's beautiful. Really, really hard to find guys who would like to speak about it, because I try to contact the Ukrainian hiking community. They're very hard to reach, unfortunately. I would love it, but it's very, very, very hard. Did you vote for Kamala? I know that a lot of people voted for Trump because they believe that Trump can stop the war easily and fast, and with Kamala, that would last for maybe like months and years. With Trump, that would just stop. So if that was the case, the war would stop 24 hours and 45 days ago. Didn't happen, of course. Guys, Trump doesn't have strategy to stop the war in Ukraine. It's obvious. Trump doesn't consider Ukraine an ally. That's also obvious. Trump doesn't want the victory of Ukraine. It's not his priority. He doesn't want it because generally he doesn't care. And a lot of people I spoke to, they said that, yeah, generally that's the case. He he lied that he can do that. That was obvious. I made a stream about it. I talked about it during the debates in the United States. He doesn't have a clear understanding on how to end the war. He just doesn't. He doesn't have a strategy. It's impossible. There is only one strategy. That is a military strategy used by Putin. And this military strategy involves taking control of whole Ukrainian territory, invading European countries, starting from the Baltic states, using the hybrid warfare. That is his strategy. It exists. There is a strategy of raising new generations of Russian invaders using not only Russian youth like Yun Armia, but also captured Ukrainian children, 20,000 kids. 20,000 kids, that is literally how much? That is almost 7 brigades that you can literally throw into a meat grinder, right? When you invade Europe. That is the strategy. Those kids grow. It takes years for them to grow. It takes time to indoctrinate them. Putin has a long range plan. He has a strategy. Trump doesn't have a strategy. And whatever like situational decisions he wants to make, they're not a strategy. The mineral deal is also not part of strategy to bring peace to Ukraine because mineral deal is literally Trump's attempt to return investments spent on Ukraine. That's it. There is nothing about peace. There is nothing about protection. And of course, there's nothing about military alliance and no security guarantees. Let's just call things for what they are, okay? So Trump is not a genius strategist. He did absolutely nothing during this month to bring peace closer, right? What he did was basically he helped just like tiny bit the Russian invaders, and that's it. Maybe in the future he will help them more. We will see. Can you make a joint stream with Jonathan on Silicon Curtain? You see, I think we will have this stream today. I'm not sure if it will be a stream or a recorded video, but we will have it today with Jonathan and Anna from Ukraine. Uh, oh, hello, Martin. Hello, brother. I'm streaming literally since 5 a.m. Because uh, I decided to make a Pacific stream for our Australian and New Zealander audience, and also there was a missile strike, so I couldn't sleep much. Uh, but there will be a stream with Jonathan and Anna from Ukraine. I think we should also involve some of the uh, people who can explain to Russians because we need to influence that audience as well. But it's not that easy, unfortunately. At what time you stream that? As far as I remember, it will be like 3 p.m. Berlin time. if it's gonna be the stream, because it may be a like just a recorded video. And if it's a recorded video, then it will be published later today. Okay. We have more and more friends joining from Australia. It's beer o'clock. It's always a good time, right? I'd like to thank you. I have mine. Actually, I drank it already, and I'm too shy to ask my lady to cook more, but I will withstand. Aha, it's 10 p.m. in Canada, actually. It's not that bad. So, why did Trump say that he has this amazing plan that will definitely work, and people voted for him? But that's the reason, because that is something that you say to your people when you want to get elected, right? Um, again, I worked in the communications. I know well how it works. If you're a professional politician, you lie as much as you can during elections. That is your job, especially if you're um, a person like Donald Trump. You just lie, whatever. You just tell far right that you will eliminate all the LGBT. Okay, tell LGBT guys that you will legalize like marriages and stuff like that. Lie as much as you can, and Trump knows how to make it. Trump's team is very, very good at this kind of stuff. It's his job as a professional politician. It's literally his job to lie during elections. It sounds bad, not supposed to be like that, but it's life. And again, he lies to get elected. It's not like people are bad because they vote him. No, it's not the case. Uh, it's not the problem that people are bad, because it's not true. The problem is that there are terrorist regimes that bullshit those people and literally want them to die. That is the problem. Bullshit, you don't need to lie. Of course, you don't need to lie. Of course. But in the best world, right? In the better world, that is the case. When you have a clear position and you don't need to lie. But if you're somebody like Donald Trump who wants to get elected very, very, very much, then he could just lie to anybody. Uh, I'm not saying that it's a proper thing to literally lie. That's just what people do to get elected. That's the fact, unfortunately. Good evening from New Zealand. Good evening, my friend. Oh my god. I feel so happy that I decided to make this stream, because otherwise, I just don't know how to connect to that audience of amazing Pacific people who live in like Australia or New Zealand, because I never stream when they are awake. That is why I decided to make this one. How do we get US media to address hybrid warfare? The best way to talk to the US media is through PR specialists because media relations is something they study at the universities. You need more communication folks that will talk to the US media and convince them that it's an important thing to talk about. Oh my God, we have friends from Japan joining us. This is so cool. Don't forget Japan. We never forget Japan. And by the way, Japan decided to, as far as I remember from the recent updates, Japan decided to supplant some of the support that was coming to Ukraine through US aid, which is amazing. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but Japanese architects back in 2023, as far as I remember, united 100 other architects and civil engineers in order to rebuild the Kiev Oblast after the Russian occupation of places like Bucha, Irpin, Hostomel. It was so cool. Aha, morning stream is a good idea. I miss evening streams, too tired after work. Um, I think I will be streaming in the morning then, because generally, I'm getting old. I wake up at like 4 or 5 a.m. sometimes. I go to sleep around the same time usually. So I don't sleep anyways. So I think it's a good idea to stream with you guys. Yes, the GICA initiative. That's what I'm talking about. Starsky or anyone, how much is eggs? Uh, how much is eggs? We talked with Ali about it the other day. Stay here, okay? I have a paycheck. Not the paycheck, but the receipt. Okay. Sorry about it. I had to I had to find a receipt. Okay, so chicken nuggets, €7, two big packs. Blah blah blah. Um, where's where's I? Um, just a second. Just a second. Let me find it. Mm-hmm. Tortillas. Tortillas are so good. Uh, I is a lot. The egg salad, I love it. It's 169, by the way. Um, here. So one Euro 99 cents. That is a pack of 10 eggs. €1 99 cents. That is how much they cost in Germany. $5.50 for a dozen. Yeah, that's nasty. $9 for 30 eggs in most areas of Canada. That is insane. That is insane. Generally, Ukraine can provide eggs. I know that in Ukraine, they literally, Ukrainian prices, right? 240,000 legal Ukrainians potentially being expelled. We had an information coming from the White House that this decision was not signed yet. But the key word is yet. Love to all Ukraine. Been watching your channel for 2 years. Thank you so much. Generally, today I joined the Mercado stream as soon as I woke up, and I saw a lot of people in the commentaries that were watching my channels. It's like very first days of the Russian invasion, and that was very motivational to me, very inspiring. White House changes its mind like I changed dishwater. Yeah, that's the thing. The reason is that when you don't have strategy, that is what you see. When there is no strategy, that is something that always happens. You can see a lot of stuff happening like that. Thank God EU has finally taken the reins over this war and sounds to be stepping up. Um, what can I say, Justin? It's good that Europe stepped in, and generally speaking, the reason why they couldn't do more. Okay, again, let's be honest. For example, in Germany, there is such party as AfD. AfD is an extremist party harboring all kinds of Russian and Chinese spies and things like that. Last year, a lot of them were exposed. They stand with Putin, they support Russian invasion, and yada yada. But they have approximately 19% support in the German parliament right now. So imagine if Germany starts spending more on Ukraine's defense and people start losing their welfare. IFDA will immediately say, look what they do. They spent all of our money on Ukraine. They spent $350 billion on prolonging the war, and they will start bullshitting people. Again, supported by the Russian propagandists. We know that the Russian communication agency uh, supported their campaign, trying to increase the support for AfD among the German citizens. And they will raise in popularity because of this. When welfare goes down in Germany, the AfD rises. And that is another concern for European countries. If you want to be able to provide the military aid to Ukraine, you need to make sure that your citizens have good welfare, good quality of life, and basically satisfied. One of the things that Russia is aiming at is Again, remember we had this stream about the documents that were declassified by FBI and presented on the Russian communication agency that was servicing the Russian government. Among their KPIs, there was increase the fear of future among the citizens of France and Germany uh, to the number of 55% or more. So that is something they're aiming at. They want the citizens of European countries to feel less protected, to feel not to feel unsure about the future. That is why then in this case they will be voting marginal parties like AfD and other extremists. So that is another thing. So um, as soon as White House introduces tariff pressure on European countries, as soon as they cut the ties, like trading and things like that, people in the United States will feel more unsure about tomorrow. They will feel less uh, rich, okay? Same with the Europeans. And in Europe, in this case, there will be a lot of unrest among the civilians. That is something that Russians are aiming at. That is something they want. Oh, Danny, hello. It's so cool to see you here. Thank you so much for staying with us. Someone should have told Trump Canadians don't lose wars. Absolutely, and same thing can be said about Ukraine because look, what was there? Russian Empire. Ukraine was part of Russian Empire, right? Russian Empire doesn't exist anymore, but Ukraine still does. Then there was uh, RSFSR, that is before the USSR, right? Russian Bolsheviks invaded and yada yada. Uh, there is no USSR, but there is Ukraine. Then there was Nazi Germany that invaded Ukraine and basically occupied almost all the territory. That is no Nazi Germany anymore, but there is Ukraine. So Ukraine also never loses wars. Ukraine exists no matter what. And it's crazy that, so many years were spent on Russification of Ukraine, on destroying Ukrainian identity, didn't help. Russians managed to assimilate, for example, people in like Asian parts of Russia, Chukotka, those parts, Yakutia. But with Ukrainians, never happened because Ukrainians are a self-sustainable nation. You cannot just say Ukrainians, I want you to be Russians. It's impossible. You cannot say Americans, I want you to be Chinese now. No, it doesn't work like that. That is why we have nations. Why is Russia so evil and troublesome? That's a philosophical question. I don't know how to answer this. The simple answer is that the bad people who ruled Russia for centuries, for hundreds of years, this is how they cultivated the nation to be atrocious and aggressive, right? Again, they didn't succeed much by 100% because there are still courageous and brave Russians fighting against Putin. protecting Ukraine, defending Ukraine on a battlefield in Kursk, in Donbass. We have Legion Freedom for Russia. By the way, I have some good friends there. We have Russian Voluntary Corps. We have Siberian Battalion. And I respect those people. We have sanctioned Ivan. We have Gary Kasparov, who also says proper things. We have like Navalny team, but those are like the same imperialists, basically. But besides them, we have a lot of conscious people. They're always there. You can always see a lot of worst people possible, like toxic individuals, but you can also see decent people in any community. They always exist. PTSD from Mongolians, that could be the case, by the way, because we know that Russia was um, occupied, basically. The early Russia, I'm talking about like Russian provinces like Novgorod and Moscovia. They were part of the Golden Golden Herd, Golden Horde for many, many years. Generally speaking, who was there? Nevsky, Russian hero. Um, he was a vassal of the Golden Horde for years. That is a fact. Hello, Roman. Hello, my friend. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. My friend, thank you. I'm not a huge YouTuber. Jake Bro is a huge YouTuber. But still, I'm very, very proud that I have this amazing community that you can see in the chat, in the commentaries. And you guys are the reason why I'm doing this. Moscovia never really lost a war because it's an enormous country. But what about the population? Because the population of tiny Bangladesh, if you check it on the map, is approximately the same as the population of this biggest country in the world called Russia. It's never always about the territory, the size of the territory. But again, one thing they do is the strategy of the meat assault, right? Let's talk about them that we can often see utilized by Russians in Ukraine. That is something they did all the time. Russians are known for this. Russians are known for taking plenty of people and throwing them into a meat grinder. During the liberation of Kharkiv, during the World War II, Russians would lose like one battalion, I don't know, per day in a fight, dead. Like one battalion dead per day. Just in order to push Germans out of Kharkiv. They did it. They accomplished this task, but at the same time, they were literally throwing people massively, basically making Germans run out of their ammunition. This is how Russians fight, and the thing is like it's not about the territory; it's about the amount of people you can literally sacrifice. So this is how they fight. It's a meat grinder, 100%. France took Moscow and they lost in World War II. Also, I believe there were actually, there were three nations that ever took or besieged Moscow. It was France, but before France, it was Poland and Ukraine. There was Ukrainian Hetman Sagaidashny who, together with Polish allies, basically besieged Moscow. And what Muscovians did after that to retaliate, they committed enormous genocide in Ukraine. They literally went to places like Baturin and they literally killed all civilians there. It was crazy. I truly hope our countries start working together again, sending support from Texas Oblast. Thank you so much. Much love to the beautiful Texas. I'm sure that our countries will uh, continue working or will restart the communication. Of course, I would really, really like to see that happening. Again, I never blame American people for electing Trump, and I never will, because it's not like people make decisions. It's big communication companies, um, big communication strategies implemented by powerful countries, unfortunately, like Russia, for example, that make people do those choices. That is something I believe. Yes, there are a lot of individuals, very, very toxic and uneducated, who believe that Earth is flat and Ukraine invaded Russia. But generally speaking, communication is an art and science. And this is something that makes people do choices. This is something that makes you elect one candidate over the other candidate. Uh, Trump in the White House says that literally uh, Ukraine started the war. At the same time, people who elected him, 70% believe that it's not the case, right? So as a communication expert myself, I don't blame the people. More than half of America were brain dead. Um, Please check out my previous video where I'm talking about how many Americans truly believe that the Trump statement that Ukraine started the war. As far as I remember, 62% Republicans believe that Russia started the war, and 80% Democrats believe that Russia started the war. But at the same time, half Americans elected Trump. So as somebody who worked in communications and worked in election campaigns back in Ukraine, back before all this started, back before 2014, uh, I can tell you this: you can bullshit people easily, right? And when there are elections, that is something that candidates do all the time, especially if it's. Uh, Sorry, just a second. Okay, when? Ah, okay. My dear friends, uh, yes, you're correct. And I meant when they voted, not now. Um, that I agree. Okay, my dear friends, I have to run. I have to help my lady a bit. Um, I want to say that it was a big pleasure like it's really cool actually streaming with you guys at 5 a.m. I had fun, and what else can I say? Thank you so much for supporting Ukraine and standing with us, because it's a proper thing to do. We'll see you later. We'll see you in the commentaries. And as always, be safe. Bye bye.